I fought alone before the alien queen, and she claimed me as her prize. Descent into stardust, the escape pod hurtled through Nyetha's crimson atmosphere. Alarms blaring as Alara Voss strapped herself in tighter. The diplomatic vessel had broken apart after the unexpected meteor shower, or what she suspected might not have been meteors at all. Mayday, Mayday. This is Dr. Alara Voss of the Earth Diplomatic Corps. My ship has been compromised, she called into the communications array. Static answered, punctuated by fragments of panicked voices from other pods. As a xenobiologist sent to initiate first contact with the mysterious Astraeans, this wasn't how she had pictured their meeting. The pod shuddered violently, spinning as the gravitational pull of Nyetha took hold. Alara's training kicked in as she manually adjusted the thrusters, slowing her descent enough to survive impact. The crystallscape loomed through the viewport, vast, formations of translucent minerals that refracted the light of twin moons. Impact, pain, darkness. She awoke to the sound of her oxygen filter. Struggling in the crack of the pod's viewing panel, pulling herself from the wreckage, Alara assessed her situation. Survival kit intact, minor injuries, communications dead. The air was breathable, surprisingly so, but tinged with a sweet scent that made her head swim slightly. Nyetha's landscape stretched before her, the crystalline formations pulsing with inner light. Her scientific mind catalogued everything, even as she searched for signs of her team. Instead, she found footprints, not human, leading away from a ridge overlooking her crash site. She was being watched. "I come in peace," she called out, reverting to diplomatic protocol despite the circumstances. "I represent Earth's unified nations." The crystals around her hummed, a frequency she felt rather than heard. From behind a towering formation, 3 figures emerged, tall, with iridescent skin that shifted colors with their movements. The Astrans. Their features were hauntingly beautiful, with eyes that contained galaxies of light. "You trespass, human," one spoke, voice melodious but cold. "The Sovereign will decide your fate." Alara stood her ground. "I'm a diplomatic envoy. My vessel was damaged. This is a peaceful mission." The guards advanced. Instinct took over, the combat training Earth required of all diplomats after the Proxima incident. Alara dropped low, sweeping the legs of the first guard. She used their momentum against them, a graceful dance of defense rather than aggression. Enough. The single word reverberated through the crystals. The guards froze, bowing deeply as a new figure approached. Taller than the others, crowned with crystalline formations that spiraled upward, this Astraean commanded presence beyond physical form. "Sovereign Kithrin, a human who fights like stardust on solar winds," Kithrin observed, circling Alara. "Interesting." Their eyes met, Alara's determined gaze against the cosmic depth of Kithrin's. Something passed between them. Recognition. "Perhaps, or destiny announcing itself. Take her to the palace," Kithrin commanded. "Not as prisoner, but as tribute. The stars have delivered her to us for a reason." As the guards escorted her toward a hovering vessel, shaped like a crystal shard, Alara looked back at her broken pod, her last connection to Earth. Whatever awaited her in the luminescent palace on the horizon would change everything. Diplomacy had taught her to adapt, to find common ground with alien minds. But nothing had prepared her for the pull she already felt toward the enigmatic sovereign who had claimed her. The crystal ship rose, carrying her toward a new world, and the being who ruled it with secrets as vast as the cosmos itself. There's luminous captivity. The Astraean palace rose like a mountain of living crystal, each facet capturing and transforming light into waves of color that flowed through the structure. Alara studied every detail as the guards guided her through corridors that seemed to shift and breathe. Scientists at Earth's Xenological Institute would trade lifetimes of research for just 1 hour here. "The Sovereign awaits," announced a slender Astraean whose skin rippled with blues and purples. "You will speak only when addressed." Alara straightened her tattered uniform. "I'm a diplomatic representative." "I expect to be treated as such." The Astraean's expression remained unreadable, but Alara sensed amusement. They led her into a vast chamber where ceiling crystals mirrored a star system she didn't recognize. At its center stood Kithrin, now adorned with flowing garments that seemed woven from light itself. "Leave us," Kithrin commanded, and the guards departed with fluid movements. Silence stretched between them until Alara spoke. "My people will be searching for me." "Your people believe you dead," Kithrin replied, gesturing toward a crystal that suddenly displayed Earth vessels retreating from Nyetha's orbit. "A regrettable misunderstanding," Alara's heart sank. "Those are my colleagues, my friends. Yet you alone were guided to my domain." Kithrin approached, each step graceful. "Why is that, Alara Voss? You know my name." "I know much about you." Kithrin circled her slowly. "Xenobiologist, diplomat, warrior when necessary. Your mind broadcasts these things like your vessels broadcast signals." "You're telepathic," Alara realized, among other things. Kithrin gestured, and the chamber transformed around them, becoming a smaller room with cushioned seating. "You will reside in my court while I determine your purpose here." "I don't have a purpose beyond my mission," Alara countered. "Everything that occurs in the cosmos has purpose." Kithrin's eyes shimmered with stars, especially when it involves the Etherheart's prophecy. Over the following days, Alara was given quarters that rivaled Earth's finest accommodations and freedom to explore designated areas of the palace. She documented everything, maintaining her scientific discipline despite the circumstances. The Astrans were an ancient species whose civilization had evolved alongside crystals that amplified their natural telepathic abilities. During her third evening, she encountered Kithrin in the palace gardens, where crystal formations grew like trees, their surfaces reflecting constellations. "Your people fight among themselves," Alara observed, having learned of the faction opposing Kithrin's peaceful reign. "As do yours." Kithrin touched a crystal, which resonated with a haunting melody. "The Void Seekers believe expansion is survival. They would claim your worlds next, and you oppose them? I see no wisdom in conquest when harmony offers more." Kithrin's gaze settled on her. "You are different from what our intelligence suggested about humans, as are you from what we believed about Astrans." Something shifted between them. Understanding, perhaps. Kithrin moved closer, their presence enveloping Alara like a warm current. "There is a prophecy," Kithrin said quietly, "of an off-worlder whose arrival heralds transformation for our people. For good or ill." "I don't believe in prophecies," Alara replied, though her scientific mind couldn't explain the connection forming between them. "Yet here you are, crashed from the stars, fighting with the grace of cosmic dust." Kithrin's hand hovered near hers, not touching, but close enough that energy seemed to spark between them. "The Council believes you dangerous, and you? I believe you necessary." That night, lying awake beneath the crystal ceiling of her chambers, Alara replayed their conversation. As a scientist, she dismissed the notion of prophecy and destiny. As a diplomat, she recognized the political implications of being cast in such a role. But as a woman far from home, she couldn't deny the pull she felt toward Kithrin, something beyond diplomatic protocol or scientific curiosity. Outside her window, Nyetha's twin moons illuminated the crystalline landscape, casting shadows that danced like secrets waiting to be discovered. And somewhere in the palace, she knew, Kithrin was thinking of her too. Whispers between stars. Your emotional responses are fascinating, Kithrin observed as they walked through the membrane field separating the palace from the untamed crystal forest beyond. Two guards followed at a discreet distance. Protection or surveillance, Alara wasn't certain. "How so?" she asked, watching crystal formations respond to Kithrin's presence, glowing brighter as they passed. "Astrans process emotions differently. We experience them as energy patterns, collective rather than individual." Kithrin gestured upward, where light streamed between crystal formations. "Humans feel so intensely, so personally. Is that why your people find us threatening?" Alara had learned enough about Astran politics to understand she was a convenient symbol for the Void Seeker's anti-human rhetoric. Perhaps, Kithrin stopped before a crystal pool where liquid swirled with cosmic patterns. Show me how you perceive emotion. Elara hesitated before placing her hand in Kithrin's outstretched palm. The contact sent waves of sensation through her, not thoughts exactly, but impressions, colors, music, stars being born. This is how I experience curiosity, Kithrin explained, their fingers intertwining with hers. Elara closed her eyes, focusing on the emotion bubbling within her own chest. The wonder of this alien world, the fascination with its sovereign. She imagined pushing that feeling toward Kithrin through their connected hands. A sharp inhale told her Kithrin had received it. When she opened her eyes, Kithrin's skin was pulsing with golden light. Kithrin seemed momentarily at a loss for words, an unprecedented occurrence. Overwhelming. Too much? Elara asked, concerned. Perfect, Kithrin whispered. Their moment was shattered by the arrival of Maevra, head of the Sovereign's Council, whose skin shimmered with disapproving reds and oranges. The human delegation has returned to our system, Maevra announced. They demand the release of all survivors. All survivors. Hope surged within Elara. There are others? 3 were found, Maevra confirmed reluctantly. They are being held by those loyal to the Void Seekers. Elara turned to Kithrin. I must help them. Later that evening, as plans were made for negotiation with both the human fleet and the Void Seekers, Elara found Kithrin alone in the observation tower. You will leave with them, Kithrin said. Not a question, but a resigned statement. I have responsibilities to my people, Elara replied, though the thought of leaving created an unexpected ache. As do I to mine. Kithrin turned, their expression solemn. The Void Seekers will use your presence to justify military action against humans. They claim the prophecy speaks of destruction, not transformation. And what do you believe? Kithrin approached her, close enough that the air between them seemed charged. I believe you have transformed me already. The admission hung between them, fragile and powerful. Elara reached up, her fingers tracing the crystalline patterns on Kithrin's temple. The Sovereign shuddered at her touch. In my world, Elara said softly, when 2 beings feel drawn together, they don't need prophecies to justify it. Show me, Kithrin whispered. Elara leaned forward, pressing her lips to Kithrin's. The contact was electric, literally as waves of light cascaded around them. Kithrin's arms encircled her waist, pulling her closer as they deepened the kiss. 2 worlds converging in one moment of perfect understanding. An explosion rocked the tower, sending them stumbling apart. Outside, the night sky blazed with weapons fire, not from orbit, but from within the city itself. The Void Seekers, Kithrin gasped, their skin paling to ashen blue. They've moved against us. As alarms sounded throughout the palace, Elara and Kithrin exchanged one last look of shared determination before racing toward the council chambers. Their private moment had ended, but something unbreakable had formed between them, a bond that would now be tested in fire and chaos as their worlds collided around them. The palace trembled again as they ran, crystals resonating with fear and defiance. Whatever came next, Elara knew her fate was now irrevocably entwined with Kithrin's, and with the future of both their peoples. Shattered constellations. The council chamber had transformed into a war room, with Astran commanders projecting tactical displays across crystal surfaces. Kithrin moved with purpose, their usual grace hardened into something more militant. The Void Seekers control the eastern quadrant, reported Commander Lyrics, whose battle scars created unique patterns across their iridescent skin. They've seized the communication array and are broadcasting to the human fleet. What message? Elara demanded. Lyrics glanced at Kithrin, who nodded permission. They claim you are being held against your will. That all human survivors are hostages. They're provoking an attack, Elara realized. She turned to Kithrin. I need to contact my fleet. Impossible without the array, Kithrin replied, studying the tactical display. Unless, their eyes met in mutual understanding. The crash site. Her pod's emergency beacon could be modified to reach the fleet. It's too dangerous, Kithrin said, their skin flickering with concern. The crystal forests between here and your crash site are crawling with Void Seeker patrols. I know those forests now, Elara countered. And I've studied Astran movement patterns. I can make it. Before Kithrin could argue further, the palace shuddered under bombardment. Crystal fragments rained from the ceiling as lights flickered and dimmed. "They've targeted the power core," Lyrics announced. Kithrin's expression darkened. "This is no longer about politics. Vex aims to destroy everything I've built." "Vex?" Elara asked. "My former second," Kithrin explained, "and the leader of the Void Seekers. Once, we were close." The hint of past intimacy sparked something unexpected in Elara. Jealousy, perhaps, or possessiveness. She pushed it aside, focusing on their immediate survival. "I'll reach my pod and contact the fleet," she insisted. "But I need to know what to tell them." Kithrin's gaze held hers. "Tell them the truth. That there are those among us who desire peace with humans, and those who would see your worlds." Subjugated, a squad of loyal guards provided cover as Elara and Kithrin slipped through the palace's hidden passages. The plan was simple but dangerous. Reach the pod, modify the beacon, then return to the palace for a coordinated response. They had nearly reached the palace boundaries when an explosion separated them, sending Elara tumbling down a crystal embankment while Kithrin was surrounded by Void Seeker forces. "Go!" Kithrin commanded telepathically as they engaged the attackers with a display of power Elara hadn't witnessed before. Crystals responding to Kithrin's will. Becoming weapons and shields, Elara ran, her heart torn between duty and the desperate need to help Kithrin. The forest welcomed her with familiar whispers, crystals resonating with her passage as if recognizing her now. She navigated by instinct and memory, evading patrols and using the natural formations for cover. The crash site appeared unchanged, her pod a broken shell against the crystalline landscape. Working quickly, she extracted the beacon and began modifications, using her xenobiological knowledge of Astraean technology to boost its signal. "This is Dr. Elara Voss to Earth Fleet Horizon," she transmitted once the beacon hummed to life. "Code verification Delta 97 Echo. Situation critical but not as reported. The Astraean leadership is fractured. Sovereign Kithrin seeks peaceful relations, while the rebel faction called Void Seekers aims to provoke war. I am not a hostage. Repeat, I am not a hostage." She paused, considering her next words carefully. "The Void Seekers have captured Sovereign Kithrin. Any aggressive action against the palace will endanger both Kithrin and stability in this region. Request immediate diplomatic intervention, not military action." After sending the message, Elara destroyed the beacon to prevent it from being used by the wrong hands. Now she had a more personal mission, finding Kithrin, utilizing everything she had learned about Astraean biology and the crystal resonance patterns unique to Kithrin. She followed a faint energy signature deeper into territory controlled by the Void Seekers. Night fell, transforming the forest into a bioluminescent wonderland that would have enchanted her under different circumstances. She found Kithrin in an ancient temple, bound by crystal restraints that pulsed with suppression energy. Vex stood nearby, tall, imposing, with skin that shifted between blood red and midnight black. "The human returns to her master," Vex sneered, noticing Elara's approach despite her attempt at stealth. "How touching. She is not my master," Elara replied, stepping into the open. "Nor am I hers. That's what you've never understood, Vex. True strength comes from connection, not control." Vex laughed, the sound brittle and cold. "Pretty words from a species that will soon kneel before us. Your rebellion has failed," Elara bluffed. "The human fleet knows the truth. They're sending diplomats, not warships." Uncertainty flickered across Vex's features. Elara used that moment of distraction to move closer to Kithrin, whose eyes communicated a silent plan. All she needed was to touch the crystal restraints. Their resonance would recognize her unique energy signature, the one Kithrin had connected with so intimately. "Your obsession with conquest will destroy everything beautiful about your civilization," Elara continued, inching closer. "Kithrin understands this. Many Astrans understand this. What would you know of our civilization, human?" Vex spat. "More than you might think," Elara replied, finally reaching Kithrin's side. As her fingers brushed the restraints, she whispered, "I understand the heart of it." The crystals shattered, releasing Kithrin in an explosion of light and energy that knocked Vex backward. Kithrin rose, power surging through the temple as the very ground beneath them responded to the sovereign's liberation. "This ends now." "Vex," Kithrin declared, their voice resonating through the crystal structure. As the two Astrian leaders confronted each other in a spectacular display of their species' power, Ilara realized that whatever happened next would determine not only their personal fates, but the future of human-Astrian relations for generations to come. Cosmic convergence dawn broke over Nyeth as 3 ships from Earth Fleet Horizon descended toward the palace landing platform. Ilara stood beside Kithrin, both bearing the marks of the previous night's confrontation. Ilara with a bandaged arm, Kithrin with fracture lines across their crystalline crown that would heal but never completely vanish. "Are you ready for this?" Ilara asked quietly. Kithrin's hand found hers, fingers intertwining in what had become their private gesture of connection. "Together, we have faced worse." The defeat of Vex had not ended the conflict entirely. Many Void Seekers had surrendered when their leader fell, but others had retreated to the far reaches of the planet. The coming negotiations would determine whether peace had a chance to take root. Admiral Chen, Ilara's former commander, led the Earth delegation. Her expression remained carefully neutral as she assessed the situation, particularly the clear intimacy between her xenobiologist and the alien sovereign. "Dr. Voss," Chen greeted formally, "your transmission was illuminating." "Admiral," Ilara replied with equal formality. "May I present Sovereign Kithrin of the Astrian Collective." "We welcome you to Nyethe," Kithrin said, their voice carrying the melodic resonance that Ilara had come to treasure. "And thank you for your restraint during recent events." The negotiations proceeded in the restored council chamber, stretching from morning into night. Ilara served as cultural intermediary, her unique position allowing her to bridge misunderstandings and clarify intentions on both sides. "The prophecy," Admiral Chen said during a private moment with Ilara, "the one that made you so important to their internal politics. Was it real?" Ilara watched Kithrin across the room, engaged in conversation with Earth's scientific attaché. "I believe prophecies are often self-fulfilling, Admiral. The Astrians predicted that an off-worlder would bring transformation. Whether that transformation was predetermined or shaped by our choices, does it matter?" "It matters if you're compromised, Doctor," Chen replied bluntly. "I'm not compromised," Ilara said with quiet confidence. "I'm evolved, as is my understanding of our place in this galaxy." By midnight, the framework of a treaty had been established. Mutual non-aggression, cultural exchange programs, shared research initiatives, and a joint task force to locate and reintegrate the remaining Void Seekers. As the Earth delegation prepared to depart the next morning, Admiral Chen pulled Ilara aside. "Command has authorized the establishment of a permanent embassy here," she said. "We need an ambassador who understands their culture. Someone they respect." Ilara's heart quickened. "Are you offering me the position?" "Against my better judgment," Chen admitted. "Your relationship with the Sovereign is unconventional." "Everything about this situation is unconventional, Admiral." Chen sighed. "Just remember, you represent Earth first, Doctor." After the ships departed, Ilara found Kithrin in their private garden, where crystal formations had begun to grow in new patterns that resonated with both Astrian and human energy signatures. "Ambassador Voss," Kithrin greeted her with a smile. "It seems you won't be leaving us after all." Was there ever any doubt? Ilara moved into Kithrin's embrace, their bodies fitting together in perfect harmony despite their different origins. "The Council has questions about our relationship," Kithrin murmured against her hair, "as does your Admiral Chen." "Let them question," Ilara replied. "We've earned the right to define this ourselves." Kithrin traced the line of her jaw, eyes shimmering with emotion that had once been foreign to the Sovereign, but now flowed freely between them. "The prophecy spoke of transformation through cosmic convergence. I never imagined it would be so personal." "Perhaps that's what makes it powerful," Ilara suggested. "Not grand political schemes or military victories, but the simple truth that two beings from different worlds can find common ground, can find love." The word hung between them, perfect in its simplicity. Kithrin leaned down, pressing their foreheads together in the traditional Astraean gesture of profound connection. In all my centuries, Kithrin whispered, I never imagined finding my cosmic counterpart in a human scientist who fell from the stars. And I never imagined finding home in an alien sovereign who thinks my emotions are too intense. Alara replied with a smile. Their lips met as Nyetha's twin moons rose above the crystal forest, bathing them in silver light that scattered into rainbows through the living architecture around them. In the palace, humans and Astrayans worked together to build a future neither species could have envisioned alone. In the stars above, the first joint mission prepared to depart, carrying the message of their unexpected alliance to other worlds. But here, in this moment, the universe narrowed to just the two of them, different in origin but united in purpose, their individual lights merging to create something entirely new and brilliantly beautiful. Not human, not Astran, but a cosmic convergence that transcended both. The prophecy had been fulfilled, but their story was just beginning.